I love your shirt, Gary. That's freaking awesome.
Thank you.
It's cool.
Yeah,
Thank
Crocus. I don't see many Crocus t-shirts.
No, I probably should have picked an album from them.
Yeah, it's a fantastic.
Let's get this on here.
Yeah.
It's felt like Chris said the same comment twice, because as soon as I opened YouTube, it's like, I really like your shirt, Gary. I'm like,
I have a
shirts all of a sudden.
I think I have a crush on Gary.
Well, the feeling is mutual, my friend. So there you go.
Well, I tell you what, Jeff gave me this shirt, Third Man Records. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Nothing cooler than a Third Man Records shirt. It felt like Chris said the same comment twice.
No, it's 3 times.
All right, are people rolling in?
I don't see anybody yet.
Got 6 people on 7.
All right, well, fair enough. So before we get into our regular topic, you guys want to talk about the big news this week about the whole Mofi scandal, and that they use nothing but digital files from third sources for all these expensive records?
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
you want to go first?
no,
Gary?
you go ahead. I don't really know much about it.
I mean, my
Beyond your
personal
channel.
feeling is that, there's been a long debate between analog and digital, right? And I collect records because I like a physical format. I like having the big jacket. It's the nostalgia of it for me. But there are others that solely collect based on the sound quality. And what they're doing is they're taking these original master tapes and they're making these. It's not when people hear digital, I think of MP3. It's not like an MP3 or a CD. It is the maximum digital file in terms of its sound quality. And then that's how they're cutting the lacquers. So for someone that is solely wanting the best possible sound quality, why don't they just sell that digital file? It would cut out having an expensive stylus. So my stylus is hundreds of dollars. When I have to replace it, it's not cheap, right? It's my turntable's expensive, my receiver's expensive, my speakers are expensive. All of this is to get amazing sound quality. So I guess there is probably part of me that, obviously I'm not an audiophile, but is looking for the best possible sound quality. So
this is a stupid question, but how do you go about listening to that digital file? Like, what sort of system do you need to access that?
I mean, all you would need is some sort of hard drive, right? If a hard drive, essentially, like in a iPod, is just a hard drive. That's all it is, right? And software to be able to play that file. So if you had a component that was a hard drive and you could download all those files on it, or if they could fit that file on some sort of Blu-ray, right? Essentially, you wouldn't need your $300 stylus, or your turntable, or everything that comes with having a turntable. But that being said, I love a physical format. I love the idea of having the jacket. I love the idea of cleaning the record. Most of my records are digital. Music on vinyl is digital. Most of all the Pink Floyd reissues are digital. Everything Sony's doing apparently is digital, whether it's Mofi or not. Because it seems like they don't want to let their master tapes out. Abbey Road doesn't want to let their master tapes out. Besides the mono box set, everything is digital. So most of us have digital records in our collection. I do understand that there are people that solely want to collect analog. So for them, they feel cheated, deceived. I get it. They spent so much money on all of these albums that essentially is digital. It's not what they perceived they were getting. But I'll let you guys go. I've rambled enough.
Well, I think
Well, go ahead.
I was just going to say I don't really know a lot about this at all. But all I'm going to say is that I know some of us are in this situation too. Like, I still listen to a lot of CDs. I still buy CDs. I seek out CDs. I'm still building my CD collection. I'm still proud of my CD collection, just like I'm proud of my vinyl collection as well. And like Josh was saying, I think we're all here because we like the physical format. So I think one good thing that's coming out of this is that maybe people won't shit on CDs anymore. It's just it's another format to listen. It's another physical format to listen to music. And, obviously the sound is both in certain cases, it's both digital. So, it really comes down to how do you want to listen to your music? So I think for people like me who still buy CDs and still proud of our CD collection, I think it's a good thing.
Well, I like what George Allen said. I'll just have a brief comment on it. He did a video about his Tommy album that he had, and he said, just get the best sounding format, like just get the best sounding copy of, whatever your favorite albums are, whether it's CD copy, whether it's a vinyl copy, and I'm not an audiophile by any means. My hearing, I don't think is acute enough to be able to pick out what's analog and what's digital. If it sounds great, that's good enough for me. I don't care whether it's CD, whether it's vinyl. I have CDs that sound better than records, and I have records that sound, way better than CDs. So I understand why people are pissed, especially if they're spending, $100 or more for what they think is an analog record. But, I've never been in the market to be buying up Mofi records. I'm lucky if I can get a decent 180 gram copy of some of my favorite albums. So that's where I come out on it.
Yeah, I think the thing for me is just kind of like, so many things these days, people try to just make black and white. It's like you're either on this side or this side and that type of thing. And I think we've gotten so much in such a mindset of doing that with how polarized things are. But to me, this is one of those situations where there are a lot of different pieces to kind of pay attention to. And I think everyone kind of needs to accept their part inside of it. So in other words, everyone's been buying all these Mofis. They haven't been buying them, taking them home and saying they sound like crap. There's so many other better pressings, but I'm only buying it because it's analog. It's like, no, you've been buying these things saying that they're the best sounding things out there. And now all of a sudden, the digital, the analog thing, and now all of a sudden they're crap. And it's like, well, no, it's not the case. You've been enjoying them. At the same time, these guys have been lying. And if you've been going out and paying your money to, purchase something you thought was analog, well, they have a pretty significant responsibility to step up and say, hey, sorry, we weren't very clear. We weren't very upfront. Because again, people feel jilted and they had a right not to feel that way, And I don't know, I always find out with situations like this, like I saw the interview with Mike the other night, and I was really bothered and kind of flustered by the way that they were kind of, flailing around when the tough questions came up. There was these, jokes and really weird laughs and that type of thing. And it's like, we already know, just be honest, like just step up, be honest with us. And by you doing that, we also need to kind of, in my opinion, give them a little bit of a soft place to land. It's like it's hard for people to step up and just be completely open and admit they're wrong when everyone's just waiting there to totally beat the shit out of you. Right. And that's one thing that kind of gets on my nerves, even though so many people completely and totally have the right to be very frustrated and feel cheated by what these guys did. But let's just try to kind of figure out a way to get through it. But I think, first of all, those guys just have to step up and be a lot more clear and a lot more honest. They just have to do that. And then, we need to just be a little more, give them the space to do that. Give them, like I said, a soft place to land. That's the way I always think about being in a fight with someone that I, care about or want to get out of or want to get through. It's just like, if I start to see that I'm right, how can I give them a bit of a soft place to land so they can buy out with a little bit of grace and we can move past this? So all personal views there, of course, that not the way the business world works.
But I love what you said, Brandon. You're absolutely right. Like, I'm not out to lynch anybody, right? I'm not. There's some of my subscribers were like, this is the greatest, because they're so angry with the anti-digital people. And some other people are on the other side of the fence and they want to throw away their Mofi records, which makes no sense to me. If it sounded good before, like you said, I collect all physical formats just like everybody in this room, right? We all collect CDs, records, cassettes. So I don't think there's anyone right now of the five of us that, you know, probably, you know, puts much thought into it, whether it's digital or analog, if it sounds really good.
Right.
But those folks that do, I totally get it. And that's kind of my point. And like you said, I'm not out to crucify anybody. I've made mistakes, you know, not to that level. You know,
Well,
I don't think any of us have.
I like a couple people as far, because like, you know, I don't, you know, like I told you, Josh, you know,
Yeah.
I don't have a horse in this race as far as I don't own any Mofi records. I don't own any One Step, you know, not because, you know, I think it's ridiculous or whatever. It's just not in my budget to spend that much on one record right now. You know, I'm pretty happy with the sound I have, but I like a couple of the things. I liked, you know, what Brandon, what you had said, basically what you just said there now. I mean, you know, you were talking about the sound and everything, but your only gripe pretty much was it's, you know, a bit of false advertising, you know, and they are charging an exorbitant price for, you know, what they led you to believe or let you believe, however you want to word that, you know, that it was analog, knowing that a lot of these record collectors, you know, a lot of us, we all say analog is the best. You know, I mean, I always feel like my older records sound better than newer records. And, you know, I guess that's because of analog. But I also liked, I don't know if you saw, Melinda Murphy was talking about it, and she made this analogy of her, I can't remember what relative it was. I think her mother-in-law had made this chocolate cake for her.
Yes.
And basically said, you know, here, try this cake, you know, and he said, oh, you know, it's really good. She goes, oh, so you liked it and everything? She goes, yeah. Well, guess what? I didn't use the normal ingredients. I used all these healthy ingredients, you know? And she's like, wow, but it still tasted good. I didn't go back and say, well, now that I know all this stuff was in there, it tasted like crap.
But she
You know,
hasn't
so
spoken to her mom since.
No, yes, right. She has disowned her mother-in-law, but
And she didn't, well, and to be fair, she didn't pay $200 for that cake. So, you know, thinking it had regular ingredients either. But
It was a
yeah,
great,
no, it's a good analogy. You
I
know,
love
an analogy I would make was, you know, and I don't know if this is urban legend, but I believe it to be true, is, you know, you go to a restaurant, you order calamari. Well, many restaurant owners were substituting pig rectum for calamari, the actual like calamari, and passing it off as regular calamari. There was a story on NPR about that. And so people are understandably upset about that. But, you know, anyway, that's the only analogy I have. So whatever. I don't have a horse in the race either, Gary. But I will tell you, it was damn hard to walk away from that Mofi White album, even at $180. I was like, you know, I'm having this dialogue, this inner dialogue in my head, like, okay, like, you know, I just said I had to spend $500 this week to replace 2 tires on my car. You know, I got a $9,000 plumbing bill I'm going to have.
yeah.
However, I'm sitting right here, you know, like I could put this on my credit card, bring it home, be the very first Mofi that I ever had. And it was really hard to walk away, you know. It was like, you know, kind of like, you know, dropping your children off at the orphanage, you know. It was like, yeah, it was a hard thing to walk away from. But in the end, I know it was the best.
Or eating a hot dog.
Yeah, whatever. You know, anyway.
Hey guys.
Yeah. So anyway, we're not here to talk about Mofi, but I did want to, you know, see what you guys thought about it, because it's been the big.
Can I say one thing? Melinda Murphy just commented. She said, "Mofi is my bad boyfriend. He lies to me, but I can't break up with him because I like him too much."
We all like the bad boys.
Perfect analogy right there.
I love it.
That's a good one, Em.
That was a good
Yeah.
one. We've all been there.
I will say I spent more than I've ever spent on any record, any one record, last weekend, and it was for Anthology 2 on vinyl. I paid, and it was just because, I mean, that album's going for like 150, 160 bucks now. And somebody had it on eBay for $100, a brand new copy. And I'm like, I can't pass that up. It's a shitload of money. It's more than I should be spending on one record. It's irresponsible. but I'm going to do it. And so I did. And had I not bought that, I guarantee you I would have bought that Mofi White album. But you never know. Like, you know, it's always one of those, well, woulda, shoulda, coulda. But I had no idea, you know, that I was going to run into that Mofi.
Well, it's more fun being irresponsible, Jeff.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It is. That's my middle name. Irresponsibility.
I don't think we got here by being responsible now.
at all.
No.
But you know,
No.
that's the way I always talk. I shouldn't say talk people into it. It's a thought process that I give people when they're at the shop. Because they'll have a handful of stuff, and they'll be like, there's one or two things like, oh, I don't know, I may have to think about that or whatever else. And I'm like, just go ahead and buy it. Like this isn't like buying a piece of clothing or something like that. It's like literally, it's money on the shelf. You'll take it home, and if a week from now, 3 weeks from now, you're like, damn it, I wish I wouldn't have spent the money on that. You can go sell that thing just like that and get your money back.
So Jeff, when you're having plumbing issues, just give the guy your copy of the Beatles Mofi, you know, and
Money on the shelf. There you go.
Yeah, well, I did. I've got some overflow albums that, you know, kind of purged just because, again, you know, I'm trying to conserve space. And I'm like, you know, Seals and Crofts greatest hits. Will you take
Air Supply?
Well, yeah, well, I didn't have any Air Supply, but I did have you know, what's his nuts?
Dan Fogelberg.
No, what was it? Shit. It was the guy, God, I can't think of his name right now. He had
Jackson Brown.
Lowdown, Lido Shuffle.
Bob Skaggs.
Boss Skaggs, yeah. I'm like, come on, Boss Skaggs. And we knocked off 100.
White shoes.
You know, they're looking at me like, what the hell is that? I'm like, it's a vinyl record. You never seen one of these?
But Brandon, you're right though, because there's always going to be a market for records. Like somebody's always going to want to buy what you have, especially if it's in great condition. So you're right. I mean, it's money on the shelf, you know?
Yeah, and I do that actually quite a bit where I'm just like, I'll buy something. Maybe I'm not in the mood to, or, you know, the position to spend the money. But my thought process is, okay, when I get home, I have to pull this much stuff to sell to get this money back. It's a requirement. And I just kind of I consider it a trade when I do that as opposed to actually spending money.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, like I said, it's money on the shelf.
One thing, records never depreciate. It's not like if you've got a great copy, you know, a valuable album, it's not like, oh, well, in 10 years time, this is going to be, you know, like it's not like your car where it's going to depreciate in value. I mean, if anything, it's going to keep going up. And there may be exceptions to that, like if it's an OG copy and maybe they do a reissue or a repress. I mean, that I suppose that's possible, but people always want OG copies of whatever the record is, and it's a valuable record. So yeah, I mean, I agree. There's you know, a lot of times I've used that logic to kind of justify when I've spent more money than I should. Like, look, 10 years from now, this is going to be maybe, you know, $50, $100 more, you know, because I'm sure people are going to rediscover Spandau Ballet. They're going to rediscover Style Council. Flock of Seagulls is going to, you know, have a renaissance of popularity down the road. But anyway, I just want to, you know, give some shout outs. We got a lot of people commenting and a lot of people who have been very loyal to our Thursday night chats. People like Melinda Murphy, Sam St. John. We got Daddy Bog, who's been very, you know, religious about coming to our chats. Miss 80s, of course. Mike's got the spins. You know, we love all you guys. Ray Accardo, As the Table Turns. You guys are wonderful. And, you know, thanks for joining us. Hopefully, you know, we'll get to more of your comments. We kind of got off track here a little bit, and it's my fault. But we are here to talk tonight because we want to show off some T-shirts, band T-shirts. And this was a topic that Brandon had suggested. But we're going to show... all right, first of all, I don't have 5 T-shirts to show. I thought I did. And then my wife went out of town and she took one of my Led Zeppelin T-shirts that I was going to show. So I'm like, God damn it. So I've only got 3. I think you guys have got 5. And then along with that, we're going to show our favorite album by the artist whose T-shirts we're I'm going to be showing to the rest of the group. So yeah, we're just going to have some fun with it. Kind of a lighthearted summer topic. We're going to go in the order of Brandon, Chris, Gary, Josh, and then me. So if you're happening to wear your very first t-shirt that you're going to show, if you would please stand up so everybody can get a full view of it. Spin around if there's something on the back.
Like I'm in 5th grade right now. Like
yeah, exactly.
I came in
It's
the
not
middle
one
of
of
the
my picks,
semester.
but I'll show it. There you go.
Yeah,
you guys are gonna have, and by the way, you guys are gonna have way cooler t-shirts than my t-shirts suck. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I don't have a lot of rock t-shirts, so that's why I'm gonna kind of hang back and let you guys. But Brandon, this was your topic, so we're gonna let you go first, and you know, tell us a little bit about your shirt and your favorite band and what record you want to show.
That works. This is not one of my picks, but I'll show as requested. Little Testament.
Nice.
That's from their 2018 tour. I don't know if I'm sitting in the right place, but talk about a fantastic show right there. I mean, Anthrax, Testament, Slayer, Napalm Death, and Lamb of God.
Nice. I always said if I was going to have another kid, I'd name him Chuck Billy.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was an awesome show. But so my first one here, t-shirt I'm going with is a little Bad Brains. Sure you guys remember that one from the earlier album.
Yeah.
Back there, just kind of plain. And favorite album by, I don't even know if I can say it's my favorite album, but definitely one of my top favorite albums. Just depends on the day of the week. It's gonna be Bad Brains Live.
Nice.
Absolutely love this album. Because for the most part, especially up to the time, it kind of plays like a greatest hits anyway. So that's probably the reason why I pick it as my favorite. And a couple of the songs on here, including my favorite song by them, which is Reignition. They do kind of a slightly faster, more up-tempo version of it on the live performance, which I think is really more true to the song. So that's kind of the favorite version of my favorite song by them is the live version. But you know, everything about this band, for those that aren't familiar with them, just one of the most musical, creative bands that are out there, or you know, was out there. They're obviously kind of very well known for being in kind of the punk, hardcore, you know, kind of arena. But they really are a band that can do anything. I mean, when you start going through their catalog and just listening to stuff, like 1 minute, it's like this is some of the most hardcore stuff you ever heard. The next minute, it's very metal. The next minute, it's as reggae as you can possibly get, like right there on tour with Bob Marley and the Wailers, kind of reggae. They just feel music, and whatever comes out of them at whatever point in time, they roll with it, and they have the ability and the musical ears and the musical feel to do it. So very, very impressive band. If you're not familiar with them, if you ever pick up one of their albums and you don't like it, just go to the next album, because somewhere down the line, you're going to find something that's like, oh, that's the greatest thing I've ever heard, after hating their previous two, because they're just awesome, awesome band.
And I think they just reissued their first album.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah. And little known fact, they released an album on the SST label. Eye Against Eye, I think it's called.
Yeah, and that's usually a pretty hard one to get.
Yeah.
I mean, well, the original pressings of those were pretty hard to get. So, and they had a new album that came out. How long ago was that? Was it like 6 years ago? Something like that? I actually have it. I can't remember the year though. But again, just same fantastic stuff. So great band to check out if you're not familiar with them.
Cool.
Yeah, see, that's why, you know, I love bands like that, because, for instance, if you're an AC/DC fan, you know what you're getting with AC/DC. They're not mixing it up. They're not throwing reggae at you. They're not going to throw a punk song at you. They're not going to, you know, do a little bit of country. They're not going to, you know, change up the style. So I imagine, you know, like at a certain point, I would imagine, you know, I just want something like a little different, you know, something that is out of left field from time to time. And it sounds like Bad Brains is a band like that, where, you know, they're constantly confounding expectations, and they're not afraid to extend themselves a little bit. And even if it works, or it might fall, you know, might not be the, you know, greatest experiment ever, but, you know, I love bands that do that, who aren't afraid to take chances and take risks.
Yeah, and that's like the perfect example, because when it comes to that stuff, you're exactly right. They're completely on the opposite end of the spectrum as an AC/DC. Because
nothing against AC/DC. I'm not like
no, not at all. But I mean, it's like even with the two different lead singers, you could take any AC/DC song from any album and move it to another album of any other decade, and it still fits right into place. It's like AC/DC has been AC/DC, which is what makes them freaking AC/DC.
So Jeff, you never heard the Motorhead reggae album?
I don't think I did.
Yeah, Lemmy was a big reggae fan. So
yeah, I think it was inspired by the Police. Maybe wasn't that story? Hey, I just want to throw a curveball in here, because like I know Brandon's favorite band is Godsmack. You guys all know my favorite band is the Beatles, but I don't know if I know Chris's favorite band or Gary's favorite band or even Josh's favorite band. So if you would indulge me, when you're talking about your t-shirt, if it's not, if it's one of your favorite bands, let me know. If it's not, if you're not representing a t-shirt from your favorite band, who's your favorite band of all time? For me, it's always been the Beatles. I don't know, Brandon, if it's always been, Godsmack for you, but I just, it was kind of occurring to me, like, I have no idea who Chris's favorite band is. I could guess who Gary's favorite band might be, but I couldn't swear that I know definitively. I think I know Josh pretty well, but I don't know that I know who his favorite band is. So anyway, just throwing that out there. When we get to your turn, if you could maybe share that would be cool. But any comments that we got on Brandon's pick, or anything that we need to catch up on comment wise?
Vinyl Richie says Bad Brains were great live, but too many reggae songs ruin the flow. Mike's Got the Spin says it's a great band. Some people want to know what shirt size you wear, Jeff, because they want to send you shirts.
Yes.
Yep.
Some Miss 80s wanted to know if we were going to model the shirts, and I said just Brandon. Nobody wants to see the rest of us do any modeling. Cordell, I used to have a concert shirt of Ozzy sitting on the toilet when it was supposed to be his farewell tour in 94 or 95 at Alpine Valley in Wisconsin. Ray, Jeff's last two shirts, Hot Glue and Empty, duplicate LP cover to a solid color t-shirt. Lobster Johnson, Eye Against Eye is my favorite from Bad Brains. The Marine, at 65, I think I have a bad brain. I love AC/DC. Mike's Got the Spins. Angus says he hates it when people say they made the same album 11 times. He said we actually did it 12 times. Sam St. John, do you guys own any shirts of bands you don't like because of the logo? So like you buy it just because you like the logo. I don't know.
Nope.
One Track Mind says Dire Straits. Sam St. John said, here he said, Gary's favorite band is Led Zeppelin. Josh is Springsteen. Jeff is the Beatles. Chris is Black Flag. And Brandon Ramones. So he's guessing at all of what our favorite bands are.
And who said that?
Sam St. John.
Oh, Sam St. John. Okay.
Yeah.
Was that accurate, Chris? Was it Black Flag?
Yeah, it's so, I've been asked that, what's your favorite band? And it's so hard because when you listen to a lot of different genres of music, it's hard to pick one band. Like I'd almost have to go by genre. And I know that it's sort of cheating, but Sam is right. I mean, I'd have to say one of my favorite bands is Black Flag. Now, here's the thing. I didn't show a Black Flag t-shirt tonight because I feel like I talk about them all the time. And I did see them live, and I do have a t-shirt from them. Not the Henry Rollins led Black Flag Vinyl Richie, because I know Vinyl Richie's watching right now. He's probably going to give me shit that I didn't see Black Flag with Henry Rollins, but I went to see Black Flag because I wanted to see Greg Ginn play guitar, and it was a great show. But yeah, Black Flag is definitely up there as a favorite band. But I'm going to show the t-shirt of my very first concert. Yes, I still have the t-shirt from it. It doesn't fit anymore because there's more of me now, but that's a good thing that there's more of me. And my first concert was Poison. And this was the Open Up and Say Ah tour with Tesla. So that's the front of the shirt. And that's the back.
That's cool.
That's awesome.
That's nice.
Yeah, now we're talking about favorite albums too. Like I love Poison. And you know, I like all their stuff. But my favorite album is Look What the Cat Dragged In. I think it's you know, I think for one thing was the look. You know, I can't think of another band where the look really sold them since Kiss. You know what I mean? When Kiss, of course, came out with the makeup, Poison was almost like they took it to the other extreme, to the point where I think I had a crush on Bret Michaels. You know, but this whole album is great. Now, there are some hits on here. I mean, you know, Talk Dirty to Me was a huge hit. I Want Action was a huge hit. They had the ballad I Won't Forget You. But some of the deep cuts on this album, like the last 4 tunes, Want Some, Need Some, Blame It On You, Number One Bad Boy, and Let Me Go to the Show. Those are great tunes. Yeah. This is a Friday Music reissue of the first record. But yeah, I'll always remember that. My first concert, Poison, Tesla. Funny thing is, I'm 47 years old and I'm still listening to Poison and Tesla. And I don't care what anybody says about that genre of music. I love that genre of music. And Tesla rocks, Poison rocks. And that's the bottom line. So there you go.
It's funny because I texted you last night, Chris, and if you remember what I said, Chris is like, how you doing, bro? And I'm like, I'm sitting in the basement listening to albums I played in high school.
Yeah.
It's like I never stopped.
Well, it's funny because I know that when we came to visit you, Jeff and I, and we were sitting down there listening to music, and that was, you could have taken a picture of that, and that was us back when we were 15 too. Like we could have just been 15,
right,
doing the same thing. Like no matter how old the 5 of us get, we're still going to be doing the same thing. I'm still going to throw on my Poison record and be like, yeah, this album kicks ass. And, you know, I know that there are Poison haters out there, but.
Well, I think there's a lot of people, there always has been in music, right? We all know this, you know, we're all fans of music. And, you know, now that we've, you know, gotten to know Brandon, he fits right in because we're all the same as far as, you know, we're not pretentious about our love of music or bands. So many people, it's like, you know, it has to just be, you know, punk bands or, you know, just the right bands, you know, slightly obscure bands, you know, of course, Bob Dylan and, you know, these kind of things to always be cool. Yeah. You know, it's like, oh, no, I would never play a Poison record, right? That's silly and all that kind of stuff. See, none of us are like that. You know, we all have things that, yeah, we might like a lot of those different albums and, you know, these bands that are considered cool, but we also like, you know, whatever we like. Yeah. You know, we don't really give a shit who it is or if it's cool, you know, if it's cool to like them at certain times, like if we like it, we like it. That's just the bottom line, and that's what it should be.
And to piggyback on that, what's cool about the 5 of us, and we're not the only ones in the VC, but like Gary was saying, we've got really cool albums in our collection, and we've got some uncool albums in our collection. But I think that that's great. Like, hey, I could show Miles Davis Bitches Brew. Yeah, I mean, I love that freaking album, and it's a cool record, you know. You know, I could show Beatles Abbey Road. You know, that's one of those albums that a lot of times you can't really argue with it being a classic record. Or I could show a Black Sabbath record, and I have all those albums, but I also have Poison, and I like it as much. So
yeah. I think you know, I'm gonna take the conversation to a whole different place here too. But I've always kind of thought about that, where there's, and and this doesn't describe everybody, obviously, but there's some people who look to music or certain types of music for their identity, like, you know, to kind of show who they are, kind of thing. Then I think there's other people that look to music to represent who they are, which is kind of really two different things, you know. So I've always kind of felt with myself, it's like as being Brandon, sometimes I'm freaking energetic and pumped up. Sometimes I'm sad. Sometimes I'm sappy. Sometimes I'm cheesy. Sometimes I'm silly. Sometimes I'm cool as hell. And so it's just, I'm a human being that goes through all those different experiences, and different types of music connects with me through those different experiences. You know, which I
think there's nothing cooler. Like I went to Cedar Point, which is an amusement park, you know, about a month ago, and I wore a Black Sabbath t-shirt. And I can't tell you how many people like commented like, "Oh, great shirt. Oh, love that band." You know, I mean, it's a conversation starter. And there's a lot of people who that means nothing to, but then there's other people who totally get it, who are like we are, who identify with the fact that we're so into a band that, you know, we're kind of flying our freak flag, as it were, and showing, you know, wearing on our chest, you know, we're not afraid to, you know, show we're a music lover. Sometimes, like, you know, I'll go somewhere out in public and, you know, wonder like, God, you know, am I kind of embarrassing myself right now because I'm like, oh, I'm a 50-year-old guy wearing a, you know, a freaking Led Zeppelin t-shirt or something like that, you know, like act your age, dress your age, you know, I mean, so I don't know, but I think it's like very cool. And anytime, you know, I see somebody who's wearing, you know, whether it's a concert t-shirt or just a band t-shirt, I'm like, that dude is cool. Like that, you know, it's sort of, yeah, I mean, you know how it is. I mean, you're probably the same way, rather than somebody who's wearing a sports t-shirt, or somebody who's wearing, you know, the company logo that they work for, or a golf tournament or something like that. There's just something about being a music lover. And when you see other people, you know, somebody, whether they're wearing a Prince t-shirt or, you know, Black Flag or, you know, Poison even, it's like, yep. Yeah. It's just like a brotherhood, isn't it? Kind of like a brotherhood, you know, where it's like,
it is.
Yeah,
exactly
so,
what it is.
Brotherhood, sisterhood.
What I think is funny is I've gotten negative comments on my channel about people who they just don't get me. They almost get annoyed that, like, I'll show Piper at the Gates of Dawn and then I'll show Cyndi Lauper, She's So Unusual. And it's almost like they get annoyed with me, or that it's like an act or something. But I mean, you guys can speak for it too. For me, I mean, you know me. I mean, that's who I am. I mean, I'm not pretending to like these bands, or I'm not pretending to be you know, to show all these different albums. It's who I am. Like Brandon was saying, like, that's who I am. But it's weird that it annoys certain people, though.
Well, but I want, you know, channels that I watch, I want them to be authentic. I don't want somebody to be like, I listen to Metallica, I listen to Tesla, I listen to Motorhead and all that, if they really don't, you know. And I don't want them to be afraid to show, well, you know what, I actually like, you know, Duran. I actually like Frank Sinatra. I actually like a little bit of, you know, techno pop. Like, you know, don't be afraid to show that if that's who you are. I mean, I think that's kind of like a window into your soul, not to oversell it a bit. But I think the fact that, you know, we all like stuff that is completely off brand for us, you know, like I'm like Beatles, Beach Boys, you know, Led Zeppelin. But, you know, lately I've been getting into stuff that you would never kind of expect, like Faster Pussycat, or, you know, bands like Metallica, stuff that totally, you know, people are probably, you know, not tuning into my channel to see. But, you know, if I'm being honest with you, yeah, there's a lot of stuff that I like. You may not agree with it, you may not like it, but that's who I am. You know, I'm not going to be, you know, trying to be a poser and act like, oh, I only like cool bands. I'm not going to show any bands or artists that aren't cool, because I think that's kind of boring. You know, I don't want to see somebody who like, I only listen to AC/DC or only listen to metal. You know, I mean, Josh listens to some pretty hardcore stuff, but he also listens to Tom Waits, Bruce Springsteen. You know, he's got just some, I mean, I was very fortunate to be privy to his entire album collection. And he's got, you know, soundtracks and stuff, you know, some really interesting jazz stuff in his collection that, you know, yeah, if it was just one note, if you're only into one style of music, or you're trying to, you know, just play up to, well, I don't think people would like it if I showed this band. Well, you know, how interesting is that?
Yeah, and
So-
you know what? I would just like to say two things because I've been waiting. One is you're absolutely right. A concert shirt is like a badge of honor. Like, I love this band so much, I'm gonna rock their shirt. I have tattoos of bands like Samhain, Misfits, and I've run into Glenn Danzig in San Diego, not at a concert. And he was just talking to me normal. And when I showed him I had a Samhain tattoo, he lit up. Like, this guy's willing to put ink in his skin because he loves my band so much. And so, yeah, it's huge. And also, like, you know, you mentioned Brandon the other day, Nina Cherry, Buffalo Stance. I freaking love that song. I love the song the first time I heard it. Now, granted, I was sexually attracted to Nina Cherry. I'm not going to lie. Like, that was so, but needless to say, I friggin' love that song then. I love it now. Music is music. There's a song by George Michael, Praying for Time. Up until that song came out, I was like, he's not my bag. After I was like, man, I should really go listen to some more George Michael. And I did, and I went back to Faith. I went back to Wham. And I'm proud to say there's a lot of George Michael songs I like. There's some that I really don't, but you're absolutely right. You got to be eclectic.
So what are the comments saying, Gary?
Okay. Let's see. I'm trying to go back to where we.
How good I look in a Third Man Records t-shirt?
Let me start here. Oh, well, okay. Beth said that Brett was a very pretty man. Lobster Johnson, my first concert was Information Society in 1988. It was pure.
I am so jealous.
Ray,
I am.
Ray says, remember when Open Up and Say Aw's original cover got banned, a la Yesterday and Today Butcher cover? I'm not sure what that means. Mike says, Joan Jett calls us eternal teenagers.
Yes.
I know I saw it there at some point that CGC Vinyl Guy said he'd love to be on our show sometime. Daddy Bog says, number 1, BB King 2001 Blues Fest. Number 2, Beach Boys, Smackin' USA. Zepp Pearl Vance says, seen Tesla a few weeks ago and they still rock. And he's got the footage on his channel if you want to check it out. He does a lot of that. He does a lot of good concert reviews and stuff. Sam St. John says, where's the Herb Albert shirt, Chris? You big wuss.
Hey, the episode's not, I mean, we're not over. We're not done with.
Yeah, we're not done yet, Sam. He might still have it. Marine says, the hair bands and other 80s bands make me think of the Raspberries or Sweet from the 70s. That's good analogy. Beth says, that's the attitude, my friend. It's a Fast Times quote. Fast Times, Ridgemont High. And she talks about that. That's one of my favorite movies. Ray Accardo, I can also show the Brady Bunch Christmas album. Ray says, my Led Zeppelin shirt gets lots of comments when I wear it, more so than any other band shirts. A lot of Zeppelin fans out there. Sam wants to go change into his Dead or Alive tank top.
Nice.
Mike is like me because he says, I wear a concert shirt almost every day. It's almost the only kind of shirt I own. Yeah, I do. I dress like I did in high school. I mean, you know, my sense of fashion is non-existent. Beth says, I definitely compliment people wearing bands that I like. It makes me feel good seeing someone else like what I do. Yeah, I'm like that. Says, and it makes them feel good, I imagine. Marine says there's a lot who love my purple Tina Turner Highway shirt. I would love somebody wearing a Tina Turner shirt.
Tina Turner's hot.
Chris says, good evening. Chris from Record Talk. Hello, Chris. Some people are saying hi to Chris. Vinyl Richie, when Karen Carpenter died, the Circle Jerks did a Carpenter's gig. That's interesting. Mike says that Tina Turner shirt does sound pretty cool, Marine. Also, have you ever heard the Eddie Money song, Marine? It's on his second album. She says, no, but I'll look for it. Some people were talking about Karen having a beautiful voice. Groovy Lisa's here. Hi, Lisa. Brian Reynolds, on Casual Friday, a coworker in his 40s was wearing a Van Halen t-shirt. And I said, Van Halen. He got a little embarrassed and said, I don't really know the band or their songs.
Oh,
lame.
That's lame.
Vinyl Richie says, I just showed Nina Cherry Buffalo Stance. In my last video, Final Richie is pretty good on his videos. He's funny.
Final Richie he'd be fun to have on one night. He's a good guy.
Yeah, I remember my son and him when I was first watching when I came across one of his videos and he was going on a rant. Man, we were just laughing.
Yeah.
Chris from Record Talk. I heard. Oh wait a minute. Concert Buddy says really regretting my Ricky Martin tattoo about now. Chris from Record Talk. I heard Chris was going to reenact the whipped cream cover, or is that just a vicious rumor?
Oh Jesus.
I don't know what Buffalo Stance, but I like buffalo wings, says Mike.
Yeah. Me too.
Melinda Murphy says, who has the Air Supply shirt? I'm obsessed. I just saw Air Supply, Melinda. I did a video on it. Sam says, do you ever look at a young kid in a Ramones or an AC/DC Guns N' Roses shirt and know that they just don't know the band? Maybe it's just me. Miss 80s. Beth, I would love an Air Supply shirt too, Melinda. Vinyl Richie says to mute Lisa. Chris from Record Talk. I used to think I had a carefully curated record collection of cool hip stuff. Then I got into collecting 45s and that went out the window. Mike says, I can't see the shirt that Jeff is wearing.
That's because I'm going to reveal it when I do my pick. I'm deliberately obscuring it. So we
are just getting to
yeah. One thing, you know, and I know I don't mean to be putting a lot of demands on you guys, but when it's your turn to talk, if you've already gone, when it's your turn next to talk, what was the shirt that back in the day you were most proud of, or the shirt that you remember being most proud of when you bought, couldn't wait to wear it in public or wear it in school or wear it wherever? You were like most excited when you bought it. You couldn't wait to, you know, like meant so much to you. If you have a shirt like that, anyway. And you know, Gary, it's your turn. So you got anything like that? Even if you don't have it now, but
I don't have it now. But that kind of makes me probably think of like when I was in like junior high. Remember how you would get the you'd go to a mall or whatever, and they'd have the iron-on transfer kind of thing to go onto your shirt. Yeah. I had one that it was kind of like shiny looking, and it was a black shirt, and it says, and on the 8th day God created Van Halen, you know, and it had the big VH thing on it. And you know, at that time Van Halen was, you know, they weren't super huge yet, but they were super cool. And you know, I had that shirt and I thought that was pretty cool. You know, I was still young, I hadn't seen that concert yet at that point. Also, Sam was right. My favorite band probably is Led Zeppelin. Always goes between Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd. You know, they're just neck and neck. But like Chris said, I've got so many favorite bands, but you know, put a gun to my head, that's what I choose. Okay, my first shirt is from, I don't know, maybe 5 years ago or something. This is Stevie Nicks.
Nice.
That's the front there. That's the back. Saw her in Columbus, Ohio. I first saw Stevie Nicks in 1983, and it was on this tour. This is my favorite album of hers, probably because maybe this is when I first saw her. This is the Wild Heart album. I love this, you know, and I'm just talking about her solo stuff. I'm not talking about Fleetwood Mac. This album is pretty cool because I think it has, she slightly updated her sound a little bit. Like the song Stand Back is on here, which Prince did the music for. So she incorporated a little bit of that, but still had the, you know, the rocking Stevie Nicks, the mysterious Stevie Nicks on here. And I remember seeing this concert, and it was like the first time I'd ever went to a show at an amphitheater type place where they got the big lawn, and that's where my seats were, out in the lawn, which are the shittiest seats you can have. But I was just, you know, to quote a song on here, enchanted that evening by Stevie Nicks. And there's a song on here, it's probably my favorite Stevie Nicks song. It's called Beauty and the Beast. And I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with that or not. I feel like out of all of you, it would be a song that Chris would really love. I think it's right up his alley. Of course, he's not here right now. He's off taking a leak or something. But anyway, I could put this on now and still love every song on here. So this always holds up to me. Wild Heart, my favorite Stevie Nicks album.
In terms of the timeline, Gary, was that before Mirage or after Mirage and before Tango in the Night?
It is right after Mirage, and it's before Tango in the Night.
Okay.
Chris, I just said there's a song on here called Beauty and the Beast that I think you would really love. This is Stevie Nicks.
Is it written by Nesmith?
No, it is not, but I still think you'd like it.
It's a very dramatic
song.
I just went and got a cooler t-shirt to show. So
okay.
So in terms of my favorite band, Bruce Springsteen would be up there. I mean, I always tell people Lucero because that's my favorite modern band. But in terms of solo artists, Tom Waits, Springsteen, Tom Petty, and Morrissey kind of switch places. Tom Waits is generally in the top spot. But in terms of bands, if you don't count Lucero, Aerosmith up until Pump, Van Halen, Pink Floyd, Kiss, those would probably be my favorites. So, but my first shirt. So I came out in 1986. This is an original shirt from 1986. In 1986, I was absolutely obsessed with David Lee Roth and Van Halen. So just to paint the picture,
nice.
I was 10 years old in 1984. So at that point, Van Halen was one of my favorite bands. David Lee Roth leaves. He has an EP, Crazy from the Heat, which has two massive singles, California Girls and Just a Gigolo. And then he comes out with this masterpiece of an album. It is actually, a couple of mine line up. It is my favorite David Lee Roth album, and that is Eat 'Em and Smile. I also have it in Spanish, which for some reason he recorded the album in Spanish. That's how much I love it. I honestly think this is like the greatest non-Van Halen album. Every song is just killer on it. Steve Vai is awesome. The whole band is just awesome. I mean, they were firing on all cylinders. David Lee Roth was all over MTV. He had Dave TV where he'd like take over and play videos. Just incredible. So definitely one of my favorite shirts and one of my favorite albums. So there you go.
I love that album.
Yeah, good pick.
Oh, and Jeff, to answer your question about t-shirts, my favorite t-shirt, my dad took me to go see Motley Crue in 1987, and I got a shirt. The art was by Pusshead, and on the back it said, "The ass-kicking, motherfucking loudest band on earth." And my father didn't notice till halfway through the show that it had all the swears on it. And he's like, "Well, what are we going to do now?" I wore it to high school, and this guy comes up to me, one of the teachers. He's like, "Does your father know you have that shirt?" And I said, "My father bought me this shirt." And he's like, "Okay, whatever." The 80s were a great place. High school smoking, it didn't matter if you had swears on your t-shirt.
All right. Comments, Gary?
Yeah. Okay, let's see. Marine says, Whipped Cream album was a lot used on the dating game. I think it was probably bought mainly by guys for the model for the cover. Yeah. Vance says, so many shirts that I had to retire. That, me too. Mike, Ozzy, Blizzard of Oz, North American Tour, 1981. That'd be sweet. Beth said, have you seen the meme of the guy holding up a protest sign that says, stop wearing shirts by bands you don't know? I've seen that one. Ray says that black jersey with white sleeves from the Journey Departure Tour was one of my favorites. Mike says, ooh, I like Stevie Nicks. Brian, I wish I still had my Ned's Atomic Dustbin t-shirt from 1991. I was proud of that one and a Metallica one that combined all 5 album covers into a single collage. Beth, Beth still wishes she had her first concert shirt, which was Joe Diffie. And on the back, it said, Billy Bob loves Charlene. My high school boyfriend and I matched. When he dumped me, I trashed it. Mike says, John Deere Green, great song by Joe Diffie. Ray says, I had that Stevie Nicks album, Gary. Beauty and the Beast is a great track. Mike says, David Lee Roth, hell yes. Vance, the shirt that meant something, and I still have it, is a radio shirt, the Loop FM 98, the station that brought you Disco Demolition. When I finally got that shirt, I was officially a rocker. Brian says, I had Sam Hain, November Coming Fire shirt in high school. I really loved it too. Mike says, Eat 'em and Smiles, a killer record. Marine, People Looked at Me Strange in the 70s. Shirt had four monkeys, animal, not group. See no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil, have no fun. Concert Buddy, JC is all about that David Lee Roth California Girls video. And Steve I on guitar, not too shabby. Daddy Bog, David Lee Roth, Crazy from the Heat, never made it, but his version of California Girls did. Sam, I have a few Haynes White Album shirts. Ray, good one, Sam. Lobster, Ween, Chocolate and Cheese was my favorite shirt and still is.
Nice.
All caught up, dudes.
All right.
Jeff,
he's going to reveal his shirt.
I am, but I just want to say, I'm always doing stupid shit. I'm not going to lie. And a few days ago, I was in a record store. I bought this Beatle album. I thought I didn't have. I even looked on Discogs. I couldn't find it. Bought it for $20. And then I went to the movies. It was on my birthday. I went to the movies, and the whole time during the movie, I'm like, fuck, do I have this album or don't I? And it was distracting because I'm in this movie trying to concentrate on the movie. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, do I already have this fucking album? Did I totally waste money? And then I'm in the movie, going through Discogs, God damn it. Do I have this album? Fucking have the album already. I spent $20 on an album I already have. It's a Pickwick album, no less. And it just almost ruined my birthday. I'm like, fuck. I can't believe you did that. You spent $21 after tax on an album you already had. It's not even that great an album, but has anybody ever done that before where you're like, oh, you laid out money? And I almost walked away from it. Is the thing that killed me. I almost walked away yeah, that's a lot for a Pickwick album. But I'm like, but I don't think I have it. But then
I just did that 2 weeks ago. I picked up an album after I got home. I started thinking, wait a minute, do I have this already? Because it's one of those albums I'd seen so many times, and usually it's beat up, or I'm like, well, do I really need it? I don't know. Well, yeah, I've got 2 copies of it now. Now I got to figure out, but it's an album that I know all you guys would already have. So I'm like, I don't even know for sure.
Yeah,
what
I hate that. And that's not even the first time I've done that too. If it was the first time, I'd be a little bit more forgiving, but God, I do that shit all the time. When you're in the record store, do I have it or don't I? I don't know. Anyway, so my shirt is the Beach Boys.
Yes.
nice.
Of course, one of my favorite bands. I saw them, it was in the late 90s. It was when you had Mike Love and Bruce Johnston, and then a bunch of, just essentially, paid musicians. But it's almost like seeing a tribute band at that point. But I mean, it was Mike Love, so whatever. But yeah, and it's not necessarily my favorite album, but it's definitely top 5 for me. Beach Boys Today. And the reason I like this album so much is, up to this point, Beach Boys were doing a lot of, their albums pretty much consisted of, a lot of surf songs, a lot of car songs. You had about at least 3 songs that were just kind of filler, garbage songs that just to pad out the album. And the first side of this album conforms to the Beach Boys formula up to that point. You got Do You Want to Dance, which is a cover of a Bobby Freeman song. Good to My Baby, Dance, Dance, Dance. I mean, nothing like you hadn't heard on a Beach Boys album before. But then you flip it over to side 2 and you got Please Let Me Wonder, Kiss Me Baby, one of my favorite Beach Boys songs of all time, She Knows Me Too Well. And it really was sort of like setting the stage for Pet Sounds, where Brian Wilson was using session musicians. He was very meticulous about the arrangements, and it was something that you never heard on a Beach Boys album before. And yeah, I really have an affection for this record. I love the cover art. I love the song selection on here. When I Grew Up to Be a Man, I think is an excellent Beach Boys song. But yeah, I mean, it's not my favorite, but it is pretty damn near close up to the top. A great classic 1965 Beach Boys album. And as far as like an album, like the shirt, the shirt that I was most proud of, I remember it was 1990. I was up at college and I went and saw, it was Depeche Mode on the Violator tour, and I saw them at Pine Knob and got the t-shirt and probably wore it for a week straight around campus, just trying to walk around thinking like I was a badass, and probably I wasn't, but at the time it was like, yeah, I'd never seen Depeche Mode before. And they were certainly at kind of the peak of their popularity at that point, even though, I was one of the people who, well, I liked them before everybody else did, kind of a thing. But, and my favorite band's the Beatles. So
nice.
Yeah.
We need to get you a Black Celebration shirt, like one of those early albums.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, back when the artwork was classic. Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, so we're back full circle. Back to Brandon.
All right. Well, again, about best shirt or favorite shirt or that type of thing. That was kind of a hard one to think about, but I would probably have to say either my Rush 40th anniversary shirt. And mainly those because I had a rule for a long time that if the shirt didn't come from a concert, I didn't buy it. So I never just walked into a store and bought a shirt. So, I had never really had a chance to see Rush, and Rush was a huge band for me at the time. So that actually, like, I'm going to see Rush tonight. I'm gonna get my hands on a Rush t-shirt. And I did have like a lot of pride in actually having a Rush t-shirt from a Rush concert kind of thing. So that's probably the one that stands out the most. So as far as the next t-shirt goes, I'm going to go with this one here. If anybody recognizes that.
Robert Plant.
Not quite. Rob Zombie.
You had the Robert right.
It does. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, yeah, that's a Rob Zombie. I got that. God, I don't remember what year that was. I saw him. It had to be like maybe 15 years ago. It was before I moved here. But yeah, so I've always loved Rob Zombie, loved White Zombie. But yeah, I'm strictly focusing on Rob Zombie here because that was a Rob Zombie concert. But yeah, that was a fantastic show. In This Moment opened for him that night. It was the first time I ever saw In This Moment. They absolutely blew me away. Matter of fact, they almost outperformed Zombie that night. So it was really cool stuff. So when I think about my favorite Zombie album, I'm probably going to have to go with Hellbelly Deluxe. I think it's probably my favorite album by Zombie. What I oftentimes find with him is there's just a lot of songs here and there throughout his catalog that I really like. But as far as from front to back, this is probably his best album overall, with stuff like Super Beast, Dragula, Living Dead Girl, Spook Show Baby. I mean, just all kinds of great stuff on here. Meet the Creeper, another great one. And the thing I've always loved about Zombie is, and I mentioned this in so many other videos that I've done and live streams we've done, it's just whenever there are metal bands that really get into the groove type of thing, that's just something that always captures me. And Zombie puts a lot of really funk, if you will, in a lot of the stuff that he does, which is why it wasn't really surprising to me later down the line when he did, like Brick House with Lionel Richie, when he covered that. I'm Your Boogeyman, covering that KC and the Sunshine Band track. Yeah, and it's like all that stuff just fit right into what he was doing, because he really does have a very strong funk bone inside of the stuff that he puts together. And then of course you start throwing Johnny Five with their John Five and all of that too. It's like, it's just freaking fantastic. So yeah, that's his release from 1998, and fantastic album.
I saw him on that tour.
You didn't mention your favorite band.
Oh yeah.
Oh
Godsmack.
yeah, yeah. My favorite band is just like Jeff said. It's Godsmack. That's my favorite.
I didn't know if anybody had said it. I mean, I know you've said it before, but
Yeah, I have no idea how it happened, but yeah, that's my favorite. It really is kind of weird. I mean, when I think about like all the great legendary bands that I know and love, and that we name all the time, and everything else is like, how in the world did Godsmack make its way up to the top? But they just freaking are. I get them for whatever reason. I get them.
Nice.
All right, Chris.
Finished, Dwight Yoakam.
Oh, well, that might be coming soon. Well, one of my favorite T-shirts that I ever got, I saw Johnny Cash live back when he had the resurgence with the first American Recordings album. I saw him, and that was great. I had a T-shirt. I still got to find where that T-shirt is, but that was a proud moment. Another favorite band of mine is the Monkees, and sometimes I like the Monkees better than the Beatles, and I know that that's sort of a crazy thing to say, and I think the reason is because Michael Nesmith brought a country flavor to the Monkees, and I'm a huge country fan, and I saw Mike Nesmith and Mickey Dolenz back in 2019 at the Beacon Theater in New York City. Here's the back.
Nice.
Here's the front again. And that was an amazing show. I mean, to see a hero of mine, Michael Nesmith, singing up there. He did one of his famous songs, Joanne. He was in great voice. It was just him and his guitar. He was hitting all the high notes. And to see Mickey Dolenz up there on stage, I mean, that guy, talk about a performer. I mean, he was all over the stage. And I know, Gary and Jeff saw a version of the show as well. Jeff already knows what my favorite Monkees album is. It's this album. And sometimes I say present, sometimes I say present. And the reason this album is my favorite, it's the diversity on the album. The other thing, too, are the Nesmith tunes on here. I mean, this has my favorite Nesmith song, Listen to the Band, on it, but it's also got Good, Clean Fun, Never Tell a Woman Yes, and Oklahoma Backroom Dancer. But I also love Mickey Dolenz singing Mommy and Daddy. And even Davy Jones has a real rockin' tune, Looking for the Good Times, on here. But just a killer record. And I know a lot of Monkees fans give me crap about this because they want me to pick Pisces or Birds, the Bees, and the Monkees. And those are great albums. But for whatever reason, I just have a connection to this record. And I also like the album Head as well. So, there you go.
Yeah, I got your back on that record, Chris. There's just something about that album, the way it flows, the way there's such a diversity on that album, and I think some of it is because I've heard all those Monkey songs, watching the TV show, hearing them on the radio. They've been so overplayed. And that album still sounds fresh today. I mean, you got Listen to the Band on there, which is one of Mike Nesmith's greatest compositions. You've got some Mickey Dolenz pen tunes like Mommy and Daddy, which is great. You've even got some older stuff. They pulled some older stuff for whatever reason, like from, like Looking for the Good Times, I think dates back to the More of the Monkees sessions.
Yeah.
Same with Ladies Aid Society. I think it's a great album. I'm glad that when you said it was your favorite, because I'm like, that's my favorite too. For whatever reason, it doesn't make sense. People will say, well, it's Pisces Aquarius, it's Headquarters. But for me, I listen to that album more than any other Monkees album. And I always return to it, and I never get tired of hearing it.
And the Monkees, I mean, say what you want about them. I mean, I guess they can be considered one of the first boy bands, but they had some balls to put a pedal steel guitar on their albums. I mean, and on the first album, they had the song Papa Jean's Blues, and I think that had a pedal steel on it too. So the Monkees were pulling the country card before a lot of those bands were doing it. So, you got to give props. If you're a country fan, you got to give props to the Monkees, and especially Michael Nesmith for doing the whole country rock thing.
Well, and even if you like jazz guitar, I mean, Little Girl and, I like Pillow Time, I think is just a charming. I think it's better than Good Night, the Beatles song. You know, it's just that album for me. You know, it checks all the boxes in terms of, you know, what I love about music, and even the Davy Jones songs, you know, like French Song.
If I Knew.
Yeah, I mean, I think all of it just works for me. And there's no Peter Tork on there, but you don't really miss him so much because it's not like he was, you know, doing a lot of vocals anyway. But yeah, I'm just always in the mood for that album. And if you're a Monkees fan and you haven't checked it out, yeah, you're missing out.
And I'm just so happy I got a chance to see Mike Nesmith before he passed. But you know, he needs to be talked about more. He was very influential.
Well, you know what's funny is I saw that tour that you just talked about, the 2019 one, and then just last year I saw the last tour there with Jeff. So I kind of it was like two different shows, you know. I mean, like that one there that you're showing, you know, Mike Nesmith was still in very good form and everything, you know. He sounded great. And then, you know, when Jeff and I saw him, obviously he had already had health issues, right? He died like right after that, and it was just a different vibe, you know. It was almost like seeing him that time was more of just an appreciation kind of thing, you know. You felt like, you know, when you saw him, first of all, you're like, wow, I can't believe he's out there doing this. You definitely had a feeling that he was doing it just for the fans.
Yeah.
You know, we know he didn't need the money, right? He's had tons of money for years. And for him to go out there, obviously not in good health, he was just doing that as a last hurrah for the fans. So, you know, it's two totally different shows in a way. I loved both of them, kind of like for different reasons. But when you talk about the Monkees, that album being diverse, I think pretty much most of the Monkees albums were fairly diverse, really.
Yeah, they were.
When you think, you know, they always had odd songs on there, you know, especially once you get past Headquarters.
Yeah.
You know, they were always that way.
I agree.
Okay. You want me to read a couple comments or?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. So anyway, this Daddy Bog has said at some point he was talking about seeing some older bands because he said he's 75. So he got a lot of these albums when they first came out. He said that, like he said, I saw some great groups in small places like Vanilla Fudge, Billy Joel when he was first starting out, Leslie West, and the Vagrants, Action House, Long Island, New York. So Vinyl Richie said, I saw Rob Zombie at the Santa Monica Civic. My friend got freaked out because there were giant clowns on the stage. He had to go to the lobby. Marine says, this sure beats the political crap that's on TV right now. So thank you.
Yes.
Daddy Boggs saw the Beach Boys in 1969. There were only 200 people there at the Marine Ballroom in Atlantic City. I stood right in front of the stage. Somebody had mentioned something about Rob Zombie's younger brother being in Power Man 5000. Vance is laughing at Richie saying that. Oh, Daddy Bog says, I passed on seeing the Beatles at Shea Stadium knowing it would be a madhouse in 1964. Ray, Monkees present on Cold Gems is hard to find. Beatles, Monkees, Beach Boys, and Paul Revere and the Raiders are my top 60s groups. Monkees Instant Replay is a great one. Check out Nesmith's While I Cry.
Yeah.
We all know that one. Daddy Bog, one more great group from the early 60s, the Rascals with Felix Cavalieri on the Hammond organ. He also says, Jeff would enjoy seeing my Beach Boys material I have collected over the years. I'm friends with Ed Roach, the photographer, who was best friends with Dennis Wilson. Vinyl Richie, my ex-wife saw the Beatles at Hollywood Bowl. George, 1960, it would be great to see your Beach Boys collection, Daddy Boggs, because I'm a huge fan. Cordell says, I enjoy the Monkees music because of the TV show. Well, that's kind of where we all got introduced to it. All right, my next shirt is, so this was a band that I loved fell in love with when I was pretty young. They broke up before I was, seeing concerts. But at the time, what seemed to me as almost a miracle, they got back together in 1999 and made a new album and toured. This is the shirt from it. It's Blondie.
Nice.
They did an album called No Exit. It's pretty basic. It just has that saying there on the back. To say I was excited to see this show would be an understatement, because it was just something I never thought would happen. There were some ill feelings towards different members in the band, which there still was, because, this is not the full original band. I mean, you've got Jimmy Destry over here and Clem Burke, of course, along with Debbie Harry and Chris Stein. So you've got core members here. And Clem Burke, that meant the world to me, having him in the band, because he's one of my favorite drummers of all time. And that's part of the reason why this is my favorite Blondie album. This is Eat to the Beat from 1979. It has a very big kind of 60s sound to it. And the drums on here just sound fantastic. There's the back of it, the guys on the back. I love this album. This to me, is one of those when we talk about having perfect albums and things like that. It starts out with the song Dreaming. That might be the one you guys might be familiar with, which is like, that song is like a drum solo throughout the whole song. I remember when I got a drum set when I was a kid, I was always trying to play that song, in my head, just going along with it. Debbie sounds great on this. The songwriting is fantastic. I could put this on today and just enjoy it as much as I did 40 some years ago. This is always going to be one of my favorite albums, no matter what music is released from now until the time I die. So Blondie, Eat to the Beat is my favorite Blondie album. Not that, Parallel Lines is really, really close right there.
That's a great one right there. I wish they would press that on vinyl at some point. I mean,
yeah, this is still my original copy. So
yeah, well, I mean the one on your shirt, the
reissue.
Oh, the No Exit. Yeah.
No Exit.
Oh, yeah.
Maria and all
I
that
agree.
great stuff on there. It's like, God, get around to doing it.
Yes,
yeah.
I would love to see that.
So Gary, that's not a Mofi pressing then?
No, there was no Mofi yet.
Oh, okay.
Can I just point one simple thing out really quick? That like Gary is the only adult that seems to be here, because he holds up his shirt and it's like on a hanger and it's all
Yeah.
and we're like, this our shirt.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like all balled up and wrinkled. So I applaud
Gary's ironing his shirts before the episode.
No, what the real thing is his wife is probably like, Gary, if you're gonna have these shirts, they have to be put on a hanger on your closet.
No, but let me tell you about the whole shirt thing. So I've got some old shirts, and she would like me to sell those shirts, those old shirts. And I came close to doing it at one point, and then I kind of backed out, messed it up. So that is kind of a point of contention with us. I'm not showing too many of my actual old concert shirts here. I think I've got one of them here, but yeah, that's kind of a little thing we have there about the concert shirts,
because they're in hiding.
Yeah.
I've got some that are like up in the top part of my closet. So
Yeah, don't.
I mean, I probably could get some money out of some of them.
All right. So my next one is a vintage. It's from 1987. I was 13 years old. Definitely one of my favorite bands during that period of my life. I still love them to this day. And that is Rat. And this is an original Dancing Undercover
Awesome.
concert shirt.
That's so cool.
Very, very cool. Now, here's the thing about Rat is a lot of people, they rag on Rat. And because their albums, a lot of people feel they progressively got worse. But if you think about it, my favorite album, which is, I know, cliche, but it is out of the cellar, came out in 1984. 1985, they had Invasion of Your Privacy, 1986, Dancing on the Cover. They were releasing like an album a year. So, you have to kind of factor that in. The record company wasn't allowing them time to really maybe finish some of these songs or polish it. But my favorite album is still Out of the Cellar. It's just a masterpiece. Songs like Scene of the Crime, such a great song. Obviously, everybody knows Round and Round. Wanted Man, that's another great song. I'm Insane, The Morning After, Lack of Communication. I really love Rat. I even, albums like Detonator that came out in the late 90s or, I just love them. That's all I can say. I love them. I could ramble on for hours about it. No hatred for Rat from me. And this is a totally rad shirt that I still wear. So
that's an awesome shirt.
I love Rat. My favorite album is Dancing Undercover, but Out of the
this is the concert shirt to that, man.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with any of those. Like you're talking about loving Rat. I still to this day say the best opening guitar lick in any song in all of rock and roll is Lay It Down.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
There is
so awesome.
No greater opening guitar riff in. Bring your Zeppelins, bring your Stones, bring your whatever. There is not a better lick than that.
Yeah.
Well, here's a funny story. Tom Morello was trick-or-treating with the writer of not the writer of the books, but the writer of the HBO series Game of Thrones. They were taking their kids trick-or-treating, and Tom Morello looks at the writer of the show. He's like, "Hey, you know who lives here?" And he's like, "No." He's like, "Warren DeMartini." And he's like, "From Rat?" And as soon as the doorbell opens and he greets them, puts candy in the kid's basket, he just starts going off about that riff. Like, he's like, "It's the greatest riff." And like Warren DeMartini is like, "Who is this guy?" And like, "Why did you bring him to my house?" Like he brought some random fan over. Like, "Hey, let me."
Yeah,
awesome.
That riff is mean.
Yeah.
All right. So how is Jeff gonna follow Rat? Let's see.
I don't know. Let's see.
Well, I'm going to follow with the greatest band in the world.
Yeah.
Rolling Stones, baby. And I don't know that I've ever talked about this album in terms of my favorite album. I mean, it's right up there with my legit favorite album is Let It Bleed, which I feel like I talk about all the time. But I'm going to talk about Beggar's Banquet, which is the album right before it, 1968. And you got Sympathy for the Devil on here, Street Fighting Man. And this really was sort of a return to form because the Rolling Stones had kind of, lost the plot a little bit. They started out as kind of a blues band, a little bit of an R&B band. And then by 1967, they were recording Between the Buttons, their Satanic Majesty's Request, which were very psychedelic, very English sounding albums. And then they definitely kind of got back into their blues. I mean, you have so many blues songs on here. You've got Parachute Woman, which is great. Prodigal Son, Stray Cat Blues. You've got some like country twang with Factory Girl, some folk with No Expectations, kind of some hillbilly, almost jug band with Dear Doctor. Salt of the Earth is kind of a great album closer. Jigsaw Puzzle is just kind of a dirty, raunchy, kind of a trippy track. But this was the beginning of the Jimmy Miller era for the Rolling Stones. You got this, then you had Let It Bleed, then you had Sticky Fingers, then you had Exile on Main Street, and then finally the last one, which was Goat's Head Soup. But the first really solid Rolling Stones album that you could hang your hat on. There are always Rolling Stones album up to this point. A majority of it is great, but they threw on a couple filler tracks and stuff that was kind of like, it's okay, but it's not, top shelf Rolling Stones. But this was the first one where, even though this is a single album, I put this up against the White Album any day. I mean, it's just so solid. Brian Jones was starting to kind of check out a little bit, so you don't have a lot of Brian Jones on here. But, nonetheless, I love this record. I do. And it's so hard picking between any of the 4 Jimmy Miller albums, if you were to tell me that was your favorite Rolling Stones album, you know, there's no argument there. So I tend to, like, some days it's Sticky Fingers, some days it's Let It Bleed, you know, and then I was like, God, but you know, Beggar's Banquet is such a great album too. That's my favorite era of the Stones, was that late 60s, early 70s, where, you know, they just could do no wrong. They were putting out great album after great album. And yeah, Stones are probably my second favorite band, next to the Beatles.
Nice.
Yeah, that's good.
They're awesome.
All right, back to you, Brandon.
All right, so going to jump right into another concert t-shirt here. And this one here is Melvin's.
Nice.
Melvin's. This one was a little disappointing too, because I was so excited about going to see him and, you know, picking up a Melvin shirt, because again, I only bought shirts at concerts, and like this was the coolest one they had. Actually, I was a little bit disappointed, but I was like, there's no way I'm leaving. I'm not leaving without one. And so then the record I'm going to show, which is kind of a piece of that same concert, is this right
Nice.
here. All right. And that is a nice, beautiful OG pressing. And if you look really closely there, signed by Buzz and Dale,
Nice.
which is awesome. Yeah, I got a chance to meet him at that concert, which was a really cool venue that we used to have kind of in downtown St. Louis. It was called the Firebird. It only had about maybe 300 people they could get in there, but they always had these amazing bands that came through there, like some not gigantic stadium bands, obviously, but some bigger name type of bands. And so I had heard the Melvins were going to be there, and I was like so excited. I get to see them, and you know, you always get stuff signed by the artists that came there, because there was only 2 doors that came in by each end of the bar. So to get to the green room and backstage and all of that, you had to walk through the crowd to get back to the green room. So I would, you know, sit there and, you know, snipe them and always grab stuff. And I just like telling that story because I caught Buzz early and he signed it for me. And then I'm sitting there waiting, and I catch Dale about maybe 15, 20 minutes later. And, you know, nice guy, nicest guy in the world. Yeah, sure, I'll sign it. And I hand him the pen, and I had been sitting there with the cap off, and it had dried.
Oh,
Tried to sign it once, and he tried to sign it again, and nothing was happening. And I was like, I really about lost it there for a second. But I had this pen forever, and somehow Dale noticed, is this 2-sided? And pulled a cap off the other end and signed it. I was like,
oh man, that's awesome.
Gosh. Yeah, that would have been a horror story if I would have missed that signature. But I mean, just absolute horror story. But yeah, definitely my favorite album by them. And it's always hard to kind of describe, you know, Melvins. They just kind of do their thing with a mixture of just kind of like a little mixture of everything, you know, little punkish, little metalish, little sludgish, little kind of just depend on what you catch. But Honey Bucket is definitely my favorite song by them. And that's the one that brought me to them in the first place, which is my favorite song off of this album. So that's my third pick, I guess.
Nice.
Awesome.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to pull an Aaron, and I'm going to show 2, and I'll be fast. The reason I'm showing 2 is because I saw them together at the same tour. It was in Bethel Woods, which is where the original Woodstock took place. And it's about 45 minutes from me. I saw Judas Priest and Deep Purple the same night. And it was the Judas Priest Firepower tour. So there's the front.
Nice.
Killer album.
Here's the back. And then Judas Priest opened for Deep Purple, which I thought was strange, but whatever. Deep Purple was on their Infinite tour. Okay, and like I said, I saw this at Bethel Woods, which is the original place of Woodstock. And real quickly, my favorite Deep Purple album has always been Fireball. I love the tune Anyone's Daughter. I know a lot of people don't like that song. I dig it. I had to pick 2 for Judas Priest. I'm going Sin After Sin, and I'm going Defenders of the Faith.
Yeah.
Nice.
So there you go.
Awesome.
Nice and quick.
I almost showed Judas Priest shirt, and I was going to pick
too.
Defenders of the Faith.
Yep. And Firepower was the shirt I was going to show. So thanks for taking care of that for me.
Yeah, good job, Chris.
Thank you.
A great pick.
I think Firepower is a great album.
Firepower is awesome. Yeah.
Okay, my next shirt. This one is not a concert shirt, but I do have a concert shirt of this band. But this is just one I bought at a store. This is Blue Oyster Cult.
Nice.
And of course, that's the cover to my favorite album of theirs, Fire of Unknown Origin. That's why I bought this shirt. I know a lot of people, when they talk about, Blue Oyster Cult's best album, they always go for the even earlier albums, which are great. I'm not saying that, but I just think there's something about this one that's so complete, and it is odd at times, like a lot of Blue Oyster Cult albums, but just the flow of these songs, even though some of them are quirky, like Joan Crawford, right? That's a very quirky, odd song. Fits in here perfectly, though. The title track, Fire of Unknown Origin, is a great song. Of course, it's got the hit Burning for You. But man, this is another one of those albums, I know you love this one, Chris. You can play this one from front to back. You're not skipping over anything. It's just a very solid album. So,
and I think it's produced by Martin Birch.
Yes, sir, it is.
Yes.
Great producer.
Who produced Iron Maiden?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
And Sabbath.
Yeah.
So my next pick, my t-shirts, I'm going up in age. I started with the oldest and going to the newest in terms of its age. And this one was also from 1987. And it's an original Whitesnake 1987 concert shirt with the tour dates. This thing is so old that the tag is, you can't read it. It's like see-through. I actually wore this on my first VC video. If you go look at my first video ever, this is the shirt that I'm wearing. So yeah, I love Whitesnake. I credit the VC for, Whitesnake was one of those bands that people used to rag on me all the time. And I'm like, am I the only one that likes Whitesnake? And then I joined the vinyl community and everybody loves Whitesnake. And I'm like, holy shit. Well, not everybody. I'm so glad I'm not alone anymore. But yeah, it was one of those bands that people just ragged on, and I don't get it. And this is my favorite Whitesnake album. Man, I love this album. And I debated back and forth because I love 87. I'm not a 1987 hater. I think that album is fantastic. But this album, holy shit, there's not a bad song on this. And as soon as this album, and this is the pressing that I love, it's a 45 RPM pressing. I have an OG pressing, and this one just sounds amazing. But as soon as this album kicks in, it just gives me all the same feelings I had as a teenager, listening to it for the first time. Now, this is a remix, and don't be deterred by that. David Coverdale has gone back to his Geffen era albums and remixed them, but they really just have a lot more punch. That's the best way I can describe it, is if you like that punch of 1987, a lot of the albums now have that extra kick in the pants. But, in terms of the songs, I mean, like I said, there's not a song I don't like, but Love Ain't No Stranger. I mean, that was one of the first Whitesnake songs I ever heard as a kid. Slow and Easy, Guilty of Love. It's just Gambler. I love them all. So yeah, Whitesnake. Hopefully I'll go see them next month. They're coming to Providence.
Awesome.
I was always confused about what Slide It In was about.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
I can show you videos. I'll Google them.
We'll send you a link.
Well, make sure you explain Slow and Easy to him as well, then, I guess.
What's funny is Whitesnake's one of those only bands that me and Michelle really both love. She's like, every time I play them, she's like, I love these guys. I'm like, yeah, they're great. And I'm like, boy, they got you to listen to lyrics. They're all about sex, every song.
David Coverdale the best.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
He's so awesome.
Awesome.
It really is.
We need to get Jeff a Whitesnake shirt. Jeff, do you have any Whitesnake albums?
I've got it on CD. I've got their debut album from 1987, and then I've got Slide It
In. Slide It In came before the 87 album, just letting you know. Now you know.
Those are the two that I have.
Yeah. We'll get you a t-shirt.
Sure. Well, my next shirt, my last shirt that I'm going to show is little Black Sabbath.
Yeah.
There happens to be also my favorite Black Sabbath album, Sabbath Bloody Sabbath. Yeah. I mean, what can you say about Black Sabbath? It was an album, I didn't get into Black Sabbath until, I was almost in my 30s, just because, I knew about Ozzy. I knew about Ozzy before Black Sabbath, but I for whatever reason, I just thought like Black Sabbath was like, hippie music and stuff from the 70s. And I just, for whatever reason, I just never had an opportunity to discover it. And then my brother got We Sold Our Souls for Rock and Roll compilation. And I heard that. And I'm like, God, this stuff is great. And then I started like kind of getting more into their catalog and got their first, 6 classic albums up through Sabotage, and then started exploring some of the Ronnie James Dio era. But yeah, is there anybody who doesn't like Black Sabbath? I don't know, but
not anybody I want to know.
Yeah, if you do, you're dead to me.
I think that should be one of the questions for the VC, like to be a member, is do you like Black Sabbath?
Yeah. And if you don't, then sorry, this is not the community for you. Yeah.
See you later.
I'm willing to be stuck up on that one. Yeah.
Well, and I've got this one, and I've got the Volume 4 t-shirt, but the Volume 4 t-shirt I just realized has a hole in it, so I'm gonna have to retire that shirt.
Was the hole on the nipple, or?
It's on the belly button. But I do have, a Sabotage yoga pants. It's got Sabotage logo on the
Now Jeff didn't show his signed Culture Club t-shirt that he's got, but
no, I did not. Or my Simply Red t-shirt.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm actually, that's sounding cool to me.
Or my Hall and Oates t-shirt collection.
Yes.
Break
it out, dude. Break it out.
Yeah, my H2O t-shirt I could have shown, but
hey, when it comes to concert shirts, Carter said to me the other day, he's like, I'm glad you don't dress like a dad. And I was like, thanks, man.
Yeah. I gotta read this one comment by Vance. He said, I made about $3,000 selling old shirts on eBay, but still wish I kept them.
Oh, I was gonna say, I've got some t-shirts, guys. 1987.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, if it's that kind of money, I'm selling them, no regrets.
How much can I get for a Monkeys t-shirt?
This is original. OG.
Oh, it's like I just have to say this too, because one thing it's like it keeps popping up in my mind is, Josh, what you said earlier about like this is the music I was listening to when I was a teenager, and like I'm still listening to it today and all of that. And it's like the stuff that has been shown tonight, like with the David Lee Roth and the Blue Oyster Cult and the Judas Priest and all that. Like I am overly aching to go spin those albums right now. Like I almost want to get off the stream just so I can go play them. It's kind of
do this.
It's something weird sitting in my stomach. I'm just like, God, I want to play that album right now.
Yeah. Well,
it's kind of cool.
Brandon, we're all defenders of the faith.
I love it.
Oh man.
Just remember, love bites, guys. Love
in the dead of night.
Love bites.
Well, we can make this video end quickly so that Brandon goes to the
go spin.
All right, let's move along faster.
All right. Is that me?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, I'm gonna slow it down a little bit this time. Another concert t-shirt. Steely Dan.
Oh, Steely Dan.
Oh, snap. Wow.
Yes. Got a chance to see them just not too long before Whitney passed away. But yeah, really good show. And I think one of the things that was so kind of impressive about it, it was in a nice theater, but I mean, there was no anything about it, no big light setup, no big stage. It was just guys with instruments playing some of the most incredible music and absolutely killing it. Fantastic show. My favorite album by Steely Dan, I'm gonna have to go with The Royal Scam there. I think that's definitely my favorite. And the odd thing is, like, even when you look at their hits and some of the things that I really like Peg and a number of other things, my favorite songs are not on this album. But from start to finish, this album is perfection with every single song. Just the musical nature of the songs, the creativity that you hear in them, the different styles of music and jazz and pop and everything that's kind of incorporated. It's just a beautiful work of art, really. And when it comes to an album that's just like the perfect background music for me, this is it, because every single moment of it's just awesome.
Yeah, I think Kid Charlemagne might be my favorite opening track of any Steely Dan album. And then you got the Caves of Altamira, which is amazing. Don't Take Me Alive, which is great. The song, The Royal Scam. I even love the Fez, that kind of like disco rhythm that they have on the Fez is great. Haitian Divorce is another classic Steely Dan track. I love that one. Everything You Did. Just a great collection of songs on there.
Yeah. And that's it. All the stuff you're naming there, Max. It's just so many different styles and so much creativity in it all, and I love it. Absolutely favorite album by them. And that night, I mean, too, they sounded fantastic and just were. Again, it was just kind of nice that there was no frills or anything thrown into it. It was just here's some of the greatest songs you've ever heard, and we're gonna play them for you. And it was a great concert, great time.
Awesome.
Yeah, I saw them, and this was before the Two Against Nature album came out. They called it the Art Crimes Tour. I'm not sure why, but it was before they officially got together and made that studio album. But they sounded great, and you just were reminded just how incredible their studio output was. But yeah, Steely Dan is another phenomenal band that I don't think gets enough attention or credit.
Yeah, Steely Dan, and too, I think the other thing I like about them is they have that element that I also kind of like about Prince, where their creativity and everything is kind of so unique that even after you've heard the song and you know how it came together, it's still hard to fathom, like, how did you guys get to there from scratch? It's like it still doesn't make sense to me, even though I know the final product. And I always felt that was one of the magical things about Prince, is just his creativity was just so far out there. And Steely Dan is a band I kind of feel that same way about. Like, just to come up with that from nothing is just fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. So that's me on that one.
Awesome pick.
All right. Well, Gary and I are cosmic brothers because he guessed one of the ones I was going to show tonight. And I'm going to show one of the coolest guys ever. I saw him at Bethel Woods as well, Dwight Yoakam. Yeah. And this is the shirt. It's the back.
Nice.
That's an awesome shirt.
Yeah. And my favorite Dwight Yoakam album is an album called If There Was a Way. This has two of my favorite songs on it, The Heart That You Own and Turn It On, Turn It Up, Turn Me Loose. He also does a duet with Patty Loveless on here called Send a Message to My Heart. Yep. But this is just a killer country record. And what I like about this album is it actually sounds like country music. It's not like the bullshit you hear on the radio now. Dwight Yoakam has one of the most unique voices, this nasal quality that I love, but also he's channeling Buck Owens. And he'll tell you that he's channeling the Bakersfield sound. So Dwight Yoakam, just one of the coolest guys in country.
Nice.
Yes. You do a great job singing, Dwight Yoakam, too.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Wish I was making his money.
Me too. I wish you'd start a Dwight Yoakam tribute band, and I'll play drums or guitar for you, whatever you want.
All right, cool.
I'll hold the lighter in the front row.
Nice.
Thank you for saying lighter and not cell phone, Brandon.
Okay, my next shirt is, so this is a concert shirt. It's not the one that I'm going to show the album. It's one of the later ones. I have other concert shirts of this artist, but anyway, the shirt, you'll be happy to know this is not on a hanger. Okay, this one I'm just holding up. Sheryl Crow.
Wow.
Oh wow.
I figured you'd appreciate that cover better than some of the other shirts. So
the best shirt we've seen all night.
Yeah.
The back of it there.
I mean, nothing against your Crocus t-shirt, but I'm kind of liking Sheryl Crow.
Yeah. My favorite album of hers is, and it's really, it's close between two of them, but I'm going with her second album. It's just called Sheryl Crow. And I know I've told this story before at some point, but I went and saw Sheryl Crow on her, my man Jeff's got it. I went and saw her on their Tuesday Night Music Club tour, her first one. I remember we had tickets. A friend of mine got 2 tickets, asked me to go. At that time, I didn't really know Sheryl Crow except for a couple videos that had popped up. But I went out and got the first album, started listening to it, and then saw her. And all of a sudden, I'm like, wow, I really feel like this is somebody I could really like. It's kind of, she's got a bit of rock to her. She's eclectic. Well, I was driving in a van. I was driving for work, going up to pick some blueprints up. I was near Bowling Green. Radio station said, hey, here's the latest song from Sheryl Crow. She's got an album coming out. And the song was If It Makes You Happy. And I just remember that, chord, strumming in there, down, 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 building up, and she's singing this kind of low, and then all of a sudden goes into that chorus, if it makes you happy. And I'm like, oh my God, I love this song. I'm like, that song when it came on and I heard it, and I'm like, yep. Because I was unsure at the time. I thought, I don't know. This is an artist, because I didn't know enough about it. She had the one album. I thought the next album, it might be one of those things where I don't know if I really like it or not. But I heard that song. I'm like, I cannot wait for this album to come out. I know it's going to be great. And it was. It was better than the first one. I went and seen her again. I saw her actually a couple times on that tour, and just became a big fan right then. So that's my pick on that one, Sheryl Crow.
We need those Sheryl Crow vinyl represses. Bring them on.
Oh my God, I know. It's crazy.
Yeah, it'd be the easiest Christmas gift I ever bought you, Gary. It'd be taking 2 seconds. Done.
And it would be nice if they came with a lock of her hair.
You had to make it weird, didn't you?
Yeah, exactly. All right.
Yeah, you're right. Sheryl Crow and Melissa Etheridge, those are 2 they just need to jump on so bad.
Yeah, for sure.
Fantastic ladies.
So my next shirt from 1994, I saw this band in a small club in Providence, front row. Super excited. I had been a fan since the mid 80s when he was the singer of the Misfits and then Samhain, and that was the Danzig 4 tour.
T-shirt.
Yeah, it's an awesome shirt. Kind of beat up. My last 2 shirts are pretty beat up. That's
wow.
the yin yang with the demon and the angel. So Danzig 2 is probably my favorite Danzig album, but I'm going to show Danzig 4. And the reason why is because most people, Danzig 2 or 3 is their favorite. And I have to admit that I'm slightly prejudiced against 3. And people say, why are you prejudiced against 3? You don't like it? I mean, I love 3. But here's my issue, is that Danzig was this band that nobody knew. They were like my tiny special little band that I loved, right? Misfits hadn't blown up. Misfits didn't become popular till much, much later. People started to know about them because of Metallica, but nobody really knew Danzig. Danzig 3 came out, and they made an EP called For All Demon Sweat, where Mother became a hit. And all these new fans jumped on. And I know that's petty, but it's like, man, we were OG, you know, we loved them. But then when Danzig 4 came out, he changed his sound and people jumped ship. And I was like, well, fuck you guys. You aren't true fans. You stayed for 1.5 albums or something. I love Danzig 4. And what makes Danzig 4 so great is side D, which has got Son of a Morning Star, I Don't Mind the Pain, Stalker Song, and Let It Be Captured. Those 4 songs would easily rank in my top 10 Danzig songs of all time. So I'm going to go with Danzig 4 today. I love this album, and I do love Danzig 3. I'm just being a little bitch about it. So there you go.
Well, 2 things. Danzig 3 has Dirty Black Summer, which is a killer tune.
It does. And, you know, and I was excited for Glenn to get success, you know, and I love Left Hand Black on Danzig 3. That's easily one of my favorite songs. Sistance on Danzig 3, How the Gods Kill. Every song is great. I can't knock it. It's a masterpiece. It's just so weird when you love a band and they're a tiny band, and then all of a sudden you see all these people listening to it. I was a kid and I was stupid.
Yeah, well, ever since they put Mother in Stranger Things, now everybody is just all over dancing.
That'll be next season,
Yeah,
1988.
All right, Brandon, your last one.
All right, so I have 2 left. So I'm going to flash one really quick, and I'll talk about the one I actually want to talk about. But this will play right off of Sheryl Crow really well, because here's probably just the opposite of Sheryl Crow, which is a mathematics.
That's a cool shirt.
Yeah, probably cannot be any different. Not a concert shirt, of course. I didn't get a chance to see her, and I was going to show Coup d'etat with that. But the actual pick I'm going to go with, and this is a concert shirt. Some more ladies here, which is Kitty.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you guys are familiar with them or not, but just
really.
kind of
Spit.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. Just an all-female metal band, and just, I mean, 4 ladies that absolutely bring it. And the album that I'm going to show, Gary just spit it out, is Spits. Which is really nice, because this is my favorite album by them, which hadn't really been pressed in this past record store day. You know, it got released, and you know, I hadn't been this excited about something in quite some time. But the same venue I was telling you about where I saw them with the Melvins, I saw Kitty there as well, and I stalked them the exact same way and caught them coming out of the women's bathroom and got signatures off by them and all that great stuff. And just, I mean, nicest girls in the world, you know, just oh yeah, I'll sign this for you. Thanks for coming. Appreciate it. And then they get on stage and it's just like these freaking demons from I don't know where. Just, I mean, just the energy that they could pull out on the stage. Just, I mean, really, really just kind of hardcore in my book. And again, a lot of great songs off of here with stuff like, I don't know, like Suck. It's one of my favorite songs. My absolute favorite song is the title track, which is Spit. And I think if you've never heard the band before and just want to get a feel for kind of what they do and what they're like, Spit is definitely the song that'll let you know exactly what Kitty is about. And I mean, this girl's a hardcore, fantastic metal band.
Yeah.
Nice.
I can't wait to go to a concert with Brandon. And it's like, hey, where'd he go? Oh, he's by the bathroom.
He's hanging out by the women's bathroom.
He's trying to get Sheryl Crow's autograph.
I'll go to serious extents for some signatures, man.
I think that's awesome.
All right. Well, my last one I'm going to show, I'm going to end with a thrash band. And I saw Overkill. And this was the Wings Over North America. Now, what's cool about this is opening night was in Poughkeepsie, New York, where I live. There it is, March 3rd, Poughkeepsie, New York, at a place called The Chance. So if any of you guys ever want to see a show at The Chance, it's like 10 minutes from my house. It's a killer place to see shows. And like I said, Overkill opened. Poughkeepsie is like, if you talk to a lot of metal bands, they always, like when I see them at The Chance, they're always like, oh man, Poughkeepsie is like legendary. And The Chance is one of those legendary places where a lot of these bands play. My favorite album by Overkill is I Hear Black.
Nice.
This came out in 1993. the title sort of hints to it, but this was their answer to Metallica's The Black Album. It's a little slower, it's sludgier, dare I say a little grungy in parts, but it's still heavy as hell. This happens to be a German pressing of this album, but you know, Bobby Blitz, the lead singer, that guy can still freaking scream. And Overkill is probably, like a lot of the thrash bands, they're probably making some of their best music now. So
that's awesome. I love to hear that when, you know, old bands are still, first, I just love it when they still make new music.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I applaud that so much, but to think, you know, like you just saying, they're still making some of their best music. That's awesome. You know, I just think that's great.
Yeah, and one more thing. I mean, Overkill kind of gets looked over because of the Anthrax and the Metallicas and all that. But Overkill, if you're into thrash music, definitely check them out.
Oh, heck yes. I saw Overkill on that exact same tour. Matter of fact, that was one of the other choices I passed on. I was going to pull out that same shirt.
Nice.
And yeah, if there was any band that was going to make the big four, the big five, Overkill is definitely the one. I mean, I know you got Testament and Exodus and all of that, but Overkill would be my pick on the big five. And again, I'm always talking about these signing stories again, because I was by the DJ booth on that tour and saw not the DJ booth, the sound booth, and saw what the last song was going to be. And as soon as I saw that song pop up, I ran out and grabbed my records, came back. Bobby, the coolest guy in the world, he comes out, everyone's kind of rushing him. He says, "Give me 5 minutes, guys." And he runs to the whatchamacallit, the bus, comes back out 5 minutes later, and he stands out there and signs every single thing for every single person that was waiting. And even before he walked away, he goes, "Did everyone get everything they needed? Everyone cool? Everyone cool?" And then, and it's just like, after all these years, you know, the guy still has that love and that appreciation for his fans. And like you said, still brings it on stage too. It's just fantastic.
Can all of us ever go to a concert together? Let's make that freaking work.
That'd be cool.
Dude.
What about we can meet up in Detroit? How's that?
I mean, talk about epic trips. We get Aaron out here too. And the six of us, I mean, we would have to take like a few days because that would be epic.
Awesome.
Yes, I would agree.
Would be.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
All right.
That's a great
for my last pick, I was going to show my Kiss Creatures of the Night.
Yes.
Yeah, nice.
Tour shirt, but that's not what I'm showing because I didn't want to have to pick my favorite Kiss album. So instead, I'm showing from 1982, my Van Halen.
Wow.
Yes.
Diver Down shirt, which, as you can see, they didn't even put dates on the back. This is still the original shirt.
That's
I can
awesome.
still wear it too. They could still fit me.
Could you hold up the front one more time? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's just
I've seen that they've like repressed this or something.
Nice.
And what's funny is that has nothing to do with the Diver Down cover at all.
Oh, I know. Trust me, I know.
Much like my rap. Nothing to do with dancing undercover.
I love the video game thing on the back of that T-shirt, Gary. It's like
definitely had an 80s look to it.
Yeah,
for sure.
It's
awesome. I mean, you know, one of the best concerts I've ever seen in my life. You know, I've talked about that before, and I don't really need to talk about this album too much, but Women and Children First is my favorite Van Halen album. You know, I mean, the David Lee Roth Van Halens are so good. I mean, anybody could pick one of those albums and, you know, have merit to it for them saying why it's their, you know, the best out of them. You know, so it's very slight, but I'm picking this one just because I love it. There's just so much good stuff on here. So that's all I need to say about that one.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. So my last pick, 1996. Saw this band in Providence, Rhode Island, at the Strand, which is a small club. It was right before this album dropped, and this is Tool on the Anima tour. This shirt is trash to all hell, but it still fits me. It's a medium. Super excited to see that tour, and that's still my favorite Tool album. Absolutely love this album. I don't really think there's a bad song on it. It's a progressive metal masterpiece. They start off with Stink Fist, which is a very, very dirty song, so don't look up the lyrics. But then they instantly go into Eulogy, and Eulogy is about how it's story of Jesus. First the people are like loving Jesus, and then they turn on him by the end. And so it's really a fantastic song. They go into H 46 and 2, which is my second favorite song of all time, right behind Cortez the Killer, which is my number 1 song of all time by Neil Young. Hooker with a Penis, which is about, he's walking down the street and some kid wearing brand new Vans and a Beastie Boy tee, sipping a Coke, is trying to tell him he sold out. And he's telling the kid, like, hey, listen, like, I sold out long before you ever heard one of my records. It's like, it's a fantastic song. And then towards the end of the album, songs like Third Eye and Anema, and it's like, it just doesn't stop. It's relentless. It's like a greatest hits. If someone said to, like, what's the most accessible Tool album, this is definitely it. I don't think there's a bad song on it. So I love it. And the concert was amazing. The concert was oversold, and there was a riot outside while the concert was going on. And I'm just happy to still have my original t-shirt with this crazy. Back then they used to have giant tags that said Giant on it. So like it was before they started screen printing. They worried about the back of your neck. But yeah, that's it, guys.
I love how you told us the meaning behind the song Hooker with a Penis.
Yeah.
It's great. It's such a fantastic song. And my son is totally obsessed with this album also, which is cool because he's mostly into hip hop. Like, my son's record collection is 99% hip hop, and he's got, select rock albums. Like, he's got this, he's got Tears for Fears, he's got a Van Halen record. So yeah, slowly getting him into rock music.
Awesome.
And I really like your Dancing Undercover t-shirt. That doesn't have to be in XX, is it?
It is not, my friend. This still fits me. It has no size, but it's essentially me.
That's awesome.
Well, if Gary ever wants to sell his Van Halen t-shirt and I hit the lottery, I'll give you top dollar.
So, Jeff, where have you been, buddy?
Look, I told you already, I don't have enough t-shirts. I can't compete with you guys. I just don't. So I my wife absconded with one of the t-shirts I was going to show. So yeah, I mean, I can show you a Beatles t-shirt, sure, but you already know, like, I talk about the Beatles all the time. I'm not going to waste anybody's time. But yeah, you guys, like I said, you didn't disappoint. Amazing t-shirts, fellas, great albums. So yeah,
Thanks.
Fantastic. This was a great time tonight. I think we all learned something.
Education.
I feel like I know you guys even better than I did before we started our show. So
Fantastic.
And Jeff, I'd like to say happy birthday, man. I love you, brother. You're such a great friend, and I hope you had a great week. So
I did, thanks to you guys. You guys were just amazing with the VCLT. Thank you so much. You made my week. I really had a shitty week at work. I really did. And it was bringing me down. And then, you guys with the birthday VCLT, the surprise Elton John concert. I mean, I really appreciate it. You guys are the best. You guys have made really the last 2 years of my life so much better. I'm so grateful to know each of you guys, and I'm so happy we get to do this every Thursday. It's just,
And with all these people even.
yeah, no, I
Yeah,
mean,
now we got,
everybody
like,
who watches, I've made so many friends, not just you guys, but everybody who tunes into these episodes and comments or our videos. I hope you guys know that we certainly value your friendship. We value the relationships made. And I don't mean to speak for everybody here, but I just know You know, I couldn't be happier because you guys, you know, help me get through the week, get through, you know, like the worst of times, knowing that, you know, I have you guys to connect with. And
Well, some of my best times I've been in the basement with you guys. And what I mean by that is Josh's basement and the basement at Purchase Street Records.
Hey, guess what?
Where?
I have some interesting news that I can divulge. Purchase Street Records is moving to a much larger store. I am going to get the first sneak peek. They're going to let me film in there, interview Roger. The basement is twice the size. He's got something like 20,000 records in his home that he's going to bring to the shop. And he's going to have JC's pick on the wall. So when you go in, there will be a pick from me. Travel to Purchase Street Records. But all of you are obviously invited. I can't promise that anyone besides the gentlemen that are physically in the Zoom call can get into the basement. But we'll judge that on a case-by-case basis.
And when is it opening?
It's going to open up, I think, the second week of August. I'll get the exact date. Saturday is the last day in his downtown New Bedford location. The other location is just 5 minutes away. It's got a, because right now, you know, Jeff and Chris know that like it's metered parking. It's in the middle of the city. This will be, and it's got its own parking lot, free parking. So anyone that's traveled to Purchase Street Records now, it's gonna be a much larger shop with a lot more records. He's gonna have a $3 bin. He said he's gonna bring a lot more new wave for Jeff. I was like, dude, we got to get the new wave.
I have to make another Massachusetts road trip, Chris.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, I'm looking at my calendar right now for August, and I'm like, I wonder if I can drive over there.
Yeah,
but
definitely. It's gonna be a lot more records. So
swing by and pick me up, will you?
Cool.
Yeah.
After you swing by and pick me up.
Yeah.
Good.
It's just a little out of your way.
Just halfway across the country out of your way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think I'm like 3.5 hours from you. Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we got a spare bedroom, Chris. Feel free to crash.
All right. Well, guys, thank you so much. Another great episode. You guys are wonderful. You know, hope everybody enjoyed this episode. Yeah.
Right. Guys.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, guys.
See
Care,
you, everybody.
everybody.
Bye, guys. Take care.
Bye.
Here.
I guess.